Hello on the planet and beyond. This is Sade Up Between Here and There, a Thrive-based consulting firm surrounding global hygiene and applications of information technology. We define global hygiene as the cleanliness and the health of the planet. The information technology piece comes with biomimicry as well as additional applications. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to talk about biobalance. So if you've seen the short or other videos in relation to biobalance, I want to get into that topic today. Okay, so of course I have some notes to keep myself on track because I always have a lot of flying thoughts, and I want to ensure that this video is a snippet to give you the information you need so you can action the information as well. Okay, so with biobalance, I want to focus on the movement of energy. Now, excuse me, our main source of energy is the sun, in which some religions actually pay homage to the sun because it does bring in the energy in which crops are grown, human beings are able to see, operate, and do other things. Okay, and so with the sun, the electromagnetic spectrum is a range in which the solar insolation, incoming solar, is able to be measured. Okay, so that's electric and magnetic together. Okay, and so it starts out with your ultraviolet rays, your x-rays, moving into your visible light, which is a very small spectrum in comparison to the entire picture, and then you move into your infrared, your microwaves, and your radio waves. Okay, and so with that movement of energy, humans and every other living thing wants to figure out how to capture that energy to use it for different things. Okay, and I guess I could really just say humans because I haven't seen animal behavior in which they've tried to collect energy. The only energy collection I could see is through food. So chipmunks, other animals storing food because it's an energy source. Okay. And with the movement of energy, there are different factors, your abiotic and your biotic factors. Okay. Abiotic is non-living, so that's your air. Some people also consider water there. I consider a biotic factor because water can essentially die due to movement, due to other chemicals in it, stagnancy, etc. So your abiotic factors are non-living. Your biotic factors are living elements. So your flora, your fauna, I say water, is in the biotic factor. So those things are affected when it comes to our our energy collection, distribution, as well as transmuting that process. Okay, these factors will play a role in that process. Of the movement of energy, I've selected a few categories: fire, wind, water, and solar. Okay, I also put a note of chemicals, which I'll elaborate on. So, with fire, the burning of biomaterials into charcoal is my notes. So, there's a way to collect that source of energy through burning of biomass. Okay, so when there's a lot of logging and forest clearing, which I am opposed to. I don't believe that any space should be clear cut that way because even with organizations stating that they're planting trees and doing other things of that sort, it's still the biodiversity is nil. Okay, it literally is replaced with one type, genus, and species of a tree. It doesn't have the low growing bushes, grasses, other animals that use those flora as their home. Okay, that is no longer there, and it's replaced with these very adolescent trees. Okay, So a way to capture that type of energy, which is still kind of, it's borderline with chemical because it's a chemical reaction that happens to create charcoal. When we're thinking about the biobalance of that, we need to think about how we're moving these trees out the way. How are we identifying which trees are considered like non-usable to where they would go into a burning containment center? When we think about that, it will open up the idea of who is affected, who, what, where, when, why, and how these entities will be affected. Okay, so we're thinking ecology, biodiversity, functionality. Okay, so when we burn something, we're releasing particles into the atmosphere. Okay, what things are interacting with the atmosphere? We're breathing in the atmosphere. The air is also circulated through the process of plants with their respiration, as well as other animals that are within the skies. Okay, and so they're affected. So we have to think about when we're burning those materials to create whatever energy, what can we do to minimize the amount of smog and dust and things of that nature that are released into the atmosphere? My solution is that we have a filtration system, at least a 3-tier filtration system, a minimum. Okay, so charcoal is already good for filtration when it comes to water and things of that sort. However, to filter air, we need to have a mesh type system that is going to collect specific particles and pull them back into a system where we can address it. The best way to do this would be to implement some form of contained precipitation. Okay, and what that looks like is some sort of half sphere facility which generates a artificial type rain, and that rain will be able to collect the particles which are released, and they're going straight up into the atmosphere. With the artificial rain raining down, it is able to collect those smog and dust pieces and drop them back down. Once that liquid, that solution, is down on the floor of the facility, it can be routed through another process in which it's filtered out at least 3 times. And that depends on what chemicals are being released, how that filtration process would be set up, how it looks. Okay, so that is the best way to deal with airborne particles, airborne pollutants. Wind, okay, wind energy collection. So we're thinking about turbines, wind fans that are collecting the wind's energy, okay, which is also aligned with the sun's energy because wind is moved by the insulation. Okay, so we need to think about the routes of birds and other airborne animals. What is their route? Thinking about heights that we're using, thinking about the paths in which these birds use, because they are pretty much all other creatures are creatures of their design and their habits. So when they're flying south for the winter, they're taking these same paths, these same feeding grounds, these same routes. It's continuously the same. So what we have to do as considered the elite species, we need to take note and observe exactly where these birds, these airborne animals are taking flight, and ensure when we set up a field of wind collection, we aren't disturbing that natural system. Okay, and if we need to, we can put it in locations that are either lower to the ground, as well as placing them in locations that are already cleared. We don't need to add additional clearing to generate energy, because that to me is a double negative. Okay, within these fields, because it is a clearance for the most part, again, I don't necessarily believe you have to completely clear an area to be effective. However, some of these areas are already cleared and set up in that manner. What we can do to balance ecology and incorporate a better space for plants and animals is to create like a pollinator garden. Okay, and so flowers that are able to reseed themselves, that are perennial pollinator flowers, and that will attract butterflies, bees, and other flying insects to have something to consume. They're low flying, and so therefore they will be able to benefit from that type of buffet for their nourishment, and for them to be attracted to that area and be able to pollinate and populate the flora of that specific space. Okay. Water and dams. Okay, so water routed away from animals. Yeah, so okay, so dams. When we're creating these man-made dams, we're impeding on the natural flow of water, okay? And with the natural flow of water, we have to think about who lives in that body of water. Dams naturally occur. That's what beavers do, literally part of their design and their job. However, how beavers create dams should be the design and model in which we mimic, okay? If we do that, we stay in balance with nature. If for some reason we're not able to generate a dam similar to what a beaver would by modeling and mimicking those patterns, I still believe that we should create something further upstream that is natural in nature. So therefore, by the time it reaches this man-made structure, all of the flora and fauna involved in that body of water will not reach this man-made structure and meet their demise. Okay, because that's what happens when these huge dams are put up and all this water is routed through them. When that draft, that undercurrent takes animals, it's their end, it's their demise. So yes, that's the ecology piece of water and dams. So solar, rooftop. Think about perching birds. Allow them some time to rest. Okay, so if you're getting solar panels placed on the rooftop of your home, your shelter, your man hut, woman hut, whatever you're doing, if you have solar panels there, think about the edging of your structure, because birds are naturally going to want somewhere to perch. And if you have a space for them to perch, I mean, it's beneficial, because birds, they consume insects, they keep the insect population down, as well as there's, what is it called? Acuculture? Ah, I need to look up the word. It's a word for the vibration, like they're chirping, actually electroculture, like electro, anyway, I'll look it up. But basically, how they chirp actually stimulates growth for the plant. So it's really good to have birds in your garden, because they're keeping the insects down, as well as chirping to stimulate growth in plants. It's all a vibration, and it's actually backed by science. Isn't that beautiful? Because sometimes things aren't backed by science just yet, so it's just like a hypothesis, and it's like either I believe it or I don't. However, when it comes to science, then people are like, oh, I'm on board now, I believe it, a scientist said it. That's me, I'm a scientist. Okay. Let's see. Put in vibrations for plant growth. Mm. Well, there's a music frequency used for healing, relaxation, stress relief, positive energy, and better growth for plants. But it's called something like electrocute culture, sound perception, and its effects in plants and algae. And this is from the National Institute of Health. So I like your .govs, your .edus, because they're usually backed and checked. Hmm. Well, I'm not seeing it offhand for some reason. So once I find it, I'll link it below. Okay. So yeah, space for the birds, plant growth. Birds need a home. And then you have chemicals, and chemicals I again related back to fire as well. When these chemicals are released, there is the governmental organizations that allow for certain amount of chemicals to be released. Some of those are discharged directly into the soil. Some of those chemicals are discharged into water. Some are discharged in the air. And it's like an approved amount, which I find just still outrageous in the sense of, okay, business A is released six. We're just going to give them 3, 6, and 9, okay? So company A released 3, company B released 6, company C released 9, okay? Cumulatively in the same space time, and no matter if it's the same space and time, we're all on one planet, same space and time, the concentration increases. So who's going back and doing a proper evaluation of what is actually in the area? Because we know there are businesses that are unfounded, that aren't licensed and insured, and so they don't do processes like an official business, and even official businesses don't follow all the rules and regulations. So with those chemicals, what can we do? We have to have an end of life for those chemicals. There are some organizations that have created chemicals that are stored in facilities that are manned because they're radioactive, and the half-life exceeds the human lifespan. Some of those organizations have pulled funding to arm or to guard those radioactive storage facilities. And so therefore there's been found of leaking. There's also other issues of children playing around those areas. It's unsecured. So we have to have an end of life for these chemicals. All of that needs to be worked into the plan. Who, what, when, where, why, how, and else when it comes to who's involved with the biobalance. And that's the only way we're going to be able to officially reach it, is if we're thinking in that manner. We cannot think for the here and now. We definitely cannot think for the love of money, because money is literally a medium to get you to where you need to be. We have a job, we have a mission here on the planet. I hope everyone becomes encouraged and realizes this and follows the light into your divine purpose, because this planet has been here long before any of this has been created, and has been progressive with advancements in technology, advancement in the social realm, culture, etc., without creating things that are of direct detriment to the people. Okay, so think about that. There are beings that lived in a space and time where they had more advanced technology, yet they weren't creating things that are against humans, plants, animals, etc. Okay, we can get back to that. We just need to make changes. We need everyone to be on board and on one accord, one mission. And I believe that is very much possible. So I thank you for joining me today. I want to make this video quite short. Like, share, subscribe. If you have questions, please drop them below. I would love to hear your insight, maybe your suggestions on how to create more of a bio balance. All right, and I will talk to you later.